Today we are continuing the review of LYD's fan manga of One Punch Man vs. Garo. Now this is actually the third part of a video I'm making. There's about 80 pages to cover of absolutely breathtaking art. So LYD, if you don't know who he is one of the best One Punch Man fan manga artists. Only, I think, second or equal to C. Eminglap, who did One Punch Man vs. God, and probably Dragon Garo Lee, who does these like One Punch Man Dragon Ball crossovers that are amazing. LYD started to create the fight based on the webcomic, but as the fight has been developing in the manga, he's been adapting it. So he's actually changed Garo to his awakened monster form, and as we know, currently in the manga, Garo has transformed even further several more times. Now he looks like a big gargoyle. So I'm not 100% sure if LYD is going to go in that route, but possibly. You'll have to wait till the end of the video to see what happens. In this breathtaking fan manga by LYD, we've seen Garo transform and take on Saitama. Garo continually gets stronger, and at the end of the last part that I covered, Blast did arrive. We got this just breathtaking imagery that LYD, his landscapes are out of control. Definitely Murata level in my opinion. I mean, this looks straight out of the manga, and it's not. This is 100% fan made, which is just incredible. So for fans of One Punch Man, this is an absolute delight. Always nice to see more of Blast. And here at the end of the last part we covered, Garo hit Saitama so hard that he didn't fly to the moon, he flew to Mars. So I don't know if he's trying to say that Garo is stronger than Boros. That's kind of up for debate right now among the One Punch Man fandom. And now we're going to have the climax of this battle on Mars. And I'm not really sure how they're both not breathing the whole time. I mean, is Saitama holding his breath this entire chapter? I'm not 100% sure, but somehow they're able to battle here on Mars. We even get a little bit more Blast. Now you'll just have to bear with me because I don't have translations for this, so your guess is as good as mine in terms of what exactly they're saying. We can just make some assumptions. Really, I'm here for the art and the combat, and I like the theories on how the battle is going to finish. Now, the beginning of this chapter focuses on Blast, and he's talking about, I guess, how he met Saitama in Flashy Flash and their whole meeting with God, and it looks like he's looking at the moon. Is that the moon or Mars? I'm not really sure, but yeah, he's kind of looking out into space, and he's, I guess, remembering Saitama, maybe scoping out his power to see if he's worthy to help fight against God. And here we have Mars and a little crater where Saitama landed. And I'm not 100% sure how Garo got there, but it seems like he hit Saitama into Mars and then just straight up jumped through space and landed on Mars himself. Now, in this chapter, the battle will continue, but LYD introduces new monsters that are Mars-specific species, I suppose. And these monsters, it appears that they start upgrading in rank and strength as these chapters progress. You know, these are probably just low-level monsters, and then we eventually get to like a new Centipede. These monsters immediately attack Saitama, and he just squashes all of them like bugs. A single punch, and they turn into a bucket of red paint on the ground. So LYD does a lot of these just fantastic double pages here in this fan manga, and one thing that I think he really nails so well is the use of contrast. He really emphasizes the darks and the lights and the grays to just make these images pop, and I think as a takeaway, that's one of the things that he's just doing so well to make this feel authentic. He's got varying line thickness on the art, and obviously his models are pretty damn on point, especially Saitama. So after he squashes these few bugs, a new, more powerful monster pops out right behind him, and this is going to continually happen for a while throughout this whole chapter. This thing is massive, this one standing behind Saitama, and yes, they keep growing bigger and stronger, very true to the nature of the One Punch Man comic. So here we have Martian Lord and one other. I'm not sure if these are dragon level or what, but they look quite powerful. And look again at this double page. I mean, it's just breathtaking. I love that he even uses texture on the background, gives it like some grain, and it just feels so authentic. Just looking at this picture, it's hard to take your eyes off it. He even does like kind of this paneling in the same way that Murata does to show the speed as these two monsters blast off, right, at lightning speed, and you can just feel it from the way that you flip the page. He's incredible. I mean, LYD, I can't say enough good things about his work. And now we're going to return turn to the confrontation between Monster Garo and Saitama. So I'm assuming they're having a little bit of discussion about how or why they're fighting on Mars. Maybe there's something in there about how they're breathing on Mars, and Garo isn't imagining himself at this point as the victor, that he's going to defeat Saitama right here and right now. Now, currently in the manga, Garo can't believe that with how strong he's gotten, even though he keeps monsterifying and growing stronger, he can't touch Saitama. Maybe he can win with martial arts in some ways, but in terms of raw speed and strength, he knows that he's inferior, which he can't really wrap his mind around because he has gotten so powerful in the manga. Now, before they're going to jump into their battle, they get interrupted by a new centipede monster. I guess this is like Mars Centipede. And I have a feeling that LYD probably started drawing this around the time that we got introduced to Sage Centipede. So you gotta remember, he's a fan and he's trying to manipulate and change his own fan story based on every time there's a new chapter and some of the story changes in the actual manga. So in this case, I'm assuming that when Sage Centipede became a big deal in the manga, LYD was like, well, let me make an even stronger centipede, a Mars Centipede, and this one I'm sure is dragon level or above, probably meant to be stronger than even Sage Centipede, which we saw Garo chop in half with this just insane like combo where he jumped up in the sky and then just went down with this thunderous chop and sliced the entirety of Sage Centipede in half. But I don't know if it'll work on this one. Look at this guy. He looks like heavily armored. He's got the whole centipede double face thing going on, and this art is just insane. I mean, again, the use of the darks really make these images pop so much. And yeah, LYD definitely put in a lot of extra work to not just make this black and white, but to add all the varying gradients of grays, which adds so much contrast and makes these images stand out, and it's just hard to take your eyes off. Now here there's some backstory. I don't know if this is about Martians or about how the different centipedes were created or something like that, but LYD spares no expense with these just close-up facial expressions that are scary and mesmerizing, these beautiful landscape shots of planets, and he scales out really well. I mean, look at this shot. You can see the blurred gigantic centipede in the background as Garo and Saitama just take off. Now they're gonna like just start battling while this Mars Centipede is trying to attack them, and they're just gonna like straight up ignore it basically. Garo and Saitama start to use this Mars Centipede as a landscape to battle on. They start bouncing off him, running up and down his limbs and his body, and Mars Centipede is trying to attack them, and yeah, they're just straight up ignoring him. Mars Centipede's trying to use this spiked tail of his to land a killing blow on one of them, and as it flies towards Saitama, he simply smacks it away, and it blows off Mars Centipede's entire tail. And as you can see here, there's this huge chunk of body part from this Mars Centipede as Garo and Saitama continue to run up and down its gigantic body. That body part gets in Garo's way and he just dashes through it, I guess using martial arts to completely slice it apart. Mars Centipede easily regenerates it. Now he has like 3 tails and he begins to charge up his ultimate move, I guess, just some gigantic blast. Saitama and Garo even pause for a second to look at him. For the first time, they're just not ignoring him anymore. And he shoots this beam down. It looks like it's blasting down into the core of Mars, or at least directly through the planet. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is he trying to slice the planet in half or something like that? I'm not 100% sure what exactly is going on here. But this reminds me of Frieza throwing his ball of energy into the core of planet Namek and having 5 minutes before it explodes. So while Saitama and Garo are battling, I guess just their clashing knocks over Mars Centipede. And yeah, he was never a threat to them. These guys are the strongest in the entire One Punch Man universe at this point, with the exception of maybe Blast and God. And they continue their battle. It doesn't appear that Saitama is throwing any punches really at Garo. Meanwhile, Garo is on full attack, basically just chasing Saitama down. And then LYD brings in even more Martian monsters, presumably high level like Dragon or above, and yeah, it looks like just Saitama and Garo, because they're battling so fast, these monsters are just getting obliterated from the surrounding combat damage of Saitama versus Garo. Martian Centipede finally gets back up, and now he charges up his other ultimate ability, just this insane nuke of cataclysmic energy, which he's gonna blast out. This is like some max power Kamehameha sort of thing. Awesome double page here. And if you weren't a One Punch Man fan and didn't read all of the manga like day by day, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that this is fan made. A lot of these double pages and pictures from LYD are so true to the Yusuke Murata One Punch Man manga. Garo is able to use his martial arts and deflect this gigantic beam of energy at him out into the sky, and it erupts, rocketing it into different directions in the atmosphere, blowing up all of these meteors and craters in space. I mean, just insane damage and combat going on right here in this fan manga, and it is glorious. But while Garo was distracted, Saitama appears right behind him, now charging up a death punch, and I love this. This is one of my favorite pages in all of his work. Saitama feels so powerful, and you can just know that this is the end for Garo right here. A full power surprise death punch. This is what we want to see. He didn't use it on Genos. Let's see what this thing actually does. He nails Garo in the face with the death punch, sending him rocketing down towards Mars at a tremendous speed. This in turn sends him tunneling down deep into Mars. Like, he goes real deep. And I guess Saitama punched him through Mars Centipede because Mars Centipede starts to crack and then explode. So I guess Saitama literally took them both out with one punch. Now that's One Punch Man. But similar to the One Punch Man manga, Garo does survive one of Saitama's hits. Now that was a death punch, and Garo here in this fan manga, deep down in the core of Mars, starts to, I don't know, talk to himself, maybe monsterify a little bit more, or perhaps that's God speaking to him and granting him power. I'm not 100% sure, but God, I believe, is arriving very, very soon here, as we're about to see. But first, this gigantic crater, and I'm talking about like a tenth of the planet, lifts out of the ground. And I just want to pause here to clap and congratulate LYD on this picture. I mean, look at the depth and the detail of this space shot on the crater and the planet, and everything is absolutely breathtaking. I mean, if anything, this guy is just a master at doing digital landscapes and space shots in 2D with a pencil. It's actually quite impressive. A pissed off Garo, I guess he's lifting up that gigantic crater of Mars, that like huge chunk of the planet, and he's throwing it at Saitama. So this is very reminiscent of the One Punch Man episode with the giant asteroid or comet coming towards Earth, and Genos and Metal Knight are trying to stop it, but they can't, and then Saitama just jumps directly through it. But this shot is just beautiful, man. I mean, my God. It appears that Saitama just launches himself directly at this giant chunk of the planet, headbutts directly through it, and shatters it into oblivion. Again, another unreal space shot from LYD. I mean, this guy is actually something else. He is ridiculously talented. So Saitama flies through the thing, and then at the end of it, throws out a big punch and knocks the living daylights out of Garo. You can see Saitama's head popping out from the rock, and it appears that that is the end for Garo. That was the finishing blow. That punch has sent him into oblivion, I believe, but the fan manga is not done yet because something very eerie is about to happen. LYD concludes the battle between Saitama versus Garo with this nice colored double page. This is something that Murata has been doing a little bit more in the manga. He's actually coloring some pages, and fans really appreciate it because it definitely stands out. I mean, you're reading all black and white, and then boom, this like full double colored page of God or something is in there, and you just can't help but pick up your jaw off the floor. So now something strange starts happening. This huge like chaos storm starts to form in the sky, and what I think this is, I think it's God either granting power to Garo, or God is coming itself. This giant chaos storm is God like recognizing Saitama's power, seeing this fight go on, and God is about to come. I guess if LYD decides he wants to continue this, which I really hope he does. Now what he does here is these space shots and puts them in a continual order so that it feels like it's animated. This is something that Murata has done, Pedro has done it, my artist for Demon Rush, and you can see here that this is something that LYD is replicating as as well. It's phenomenal when artists do this. It requires an unbelievable amount of work because you're not just animating some simple characters. LYD starts to do it here with these gorgeous landscape space and planet shots. And so you can see here the Earth and the moon, and the camera is going to start zooming into the moon, and then the moon is going to slowly start turning towards the screen. Just breathtaking artistic skill in this series of shots. And I think what's happening here is God is awakening from the moon, and the final page here we can see, which says the end, is of these giant demon wings coming out of the moon. So we don't know that God has wings, that's more something that Garo has, but these wings have the texture of God on them. So does that mean that Garo is fusing with God here? And if LYD decides to continue this, that's what the fight will be. God, I hope so. And I really hope that we get something like that in the manga as well, although I don't think we will, but it is a small chance. So that's all he has for now. This was about 76 pages to cover or so. I can't clap my hands enough for this guy. LYD is an actual legend. I hope he continues, and I'll have a link for his Pixiv in the description if you want to go support him and you want to go follow him there. That's where all the art is from. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next One Punch Man video.